Jeff, ready?
Yes, sir.
Nick, ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's kick it.
Let's kick it.
Freshly picked and ready for consumption. Here comes another round of the Radishcast.
Another Radishcast coming in for you. I'm your fearless commissioner and glimmer of hope, Mike Fisher. Along with me, just like every time, are my co-host Nick Spillstole, and Jeff finally kept it close, Gregory. Let's turn some rumors into facts. You had it spot on the head last week, Jeff. I think this is the week I can keep it close.
Yep. Yep.
I forgot about that.
Did just enough to cover.
Oh, Nick, how you doing today?
So sad. I'm here, baby. I'm not great, but I'm here.
Oh, well, I guess that's part of it.
I think that's good. Good to hear.
I'm not sure.
Who would be? Well, honestly, that's better shape than I was in last week, so we'll take what we can get. One thing that actually just popped into my head as I was listening to that intro, and I haven't run it by my co-hosts here yet, but I'm sure that they will monetarily support me on this. I think I'm gonna get a couple Radishcast T-shirts created. And
Oh hell yeah, baby!
Just listening to that intro, I'm gonna get us all some gear. You know what? I think I'll even make one or two extras for the league.
Hey,
I like it.
Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this straight up like every famous YouTuber ever. If this video gets 10 likes,
10.
then I'm doing a merch giveaway.
He said 10 likes.
There's 13 people in our league. If we can't get 10 likes, then we're in trouble. So if this video gets 10 likes, merch giveaway. If not, merch for us.
Win-win, I suppose.
I'm probably saving money on this. I doubt we get 10 likes.
Yeah. You never know. You can start begging.
Travis will like it for me. Travis, I know you're out here watching.
Hey, he's got our back. He's got our back.
All right. Well, let's jump into some of these money lines. So last week was the highest scoring bench player to win money. Jordan left Sam Darnold on the bench, just like we told him to do. You're welcome for the money.
Yeah.
Just how we planned it.
Yes.
Start-sit decisions are so much deeper than just which player is going to do better. We wanted Jordan to have $45.
And we knew he was going to lose either way, so it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't the difference, and we made you money. You're welcome. Moving on to this week's money line, we got the highest scoring tight end. So we'll throw down our guesses as far as what tight end that's going to be as we go through next week's matchups. But for now, why don't we jump in to last week?
This here's the Radish Recap.
Radish recap coming at you. First game, we got Lick McCaff Madak and Coach Jordan Chartier taking on Cobra Kai and Coach Kyle Stankowski. Stankowski was the 4-point favorite in this one and took the win 95-77. All of us got this one right. We are astute as usual. Nick, why don't I throw this one to you first? What do you got?
Yeah, like we expected with CMC not being in that lineup. Actually, Fournette put up a decent game, though, 15.3.
Yeah,
I didn't think that was going to happen. But, yeah, I mean, just as we planned, we could tell the future. So,
yeah, Jeff, why don't I toss it to you right away next? What did you see in this one?
Yeah, this one wasn't too crazy, kind of what we all thought was going to happen. Hurts had a monster game on Kyle's side, and then, Robinson again on that Thursday night matchup had a good start for him. So it was a lot of points from those two players, and then kind of surprising his wide receivers really didn't perform too well for him, but he had enough to get it done and hit Jordan on the right week where he had the lowest points in the in the league. So
yeah, probably the most painful part of this one is that Jordan had some moves he could have made, some opportunities where he could have picked up those extra points. Sometimes that's the case, but it's not necessarily like a play you would have actually ever made. But I think arguing Jamison Crowder over Gabe Davis isn't really, isn't absurd. I have to imagine that was at least a thought for Jordan. The tougher one was he would have had to start one of his other tight ends over Robert Tonyan. But Tonyan hasn't done anything this year, so to say, okay, I want Jarwin in a high-scoring game against Carolina wouldn't have been the craziest thing in the world. He's not going to start Donald Parham, but it could have happened, right? He had the path where he could have made it to a win there. I don't have a whole lot else on this one. You guys?
I got one thing in this matchup here, Mike, that I do want to point at. So if you would hit that.
Jeff's worst coach of the week.
So this one, unlike last week where there was a pretty cut and dry worst coach, this one was a tough one. So this week I'm going with Jordan, and mostly for the fact that he scored the least amount of points throughout the matchups. Mike, you did a pretty good recap as far as some of the guys he could have played in comparison to who he did play that would have got him a win. So for those reasons, Jamison Crowder over Gabe Davis was a big decision that you kind of go back and forth on, but he chose wrong, and ultimately with another quick, easy pick at tight end would have came away with the win. So for those couple reasons, got to give it to Chartier for the worst coach of the week.
Yep, I got no quarrel with that one this week. I think that's pretty solid. So
you suck, Jordan. Oh, sorry.
That's it allowed.
I just slipped out of there.
I have no idea who said that. I don't know.
All right, moving on to our next matchup. We got Grizzly Adam and Coach Alex Cooley taking on Jays Juggernauts and Coach Jeff Gregory. Grizz came into this one as a 13-point favorite, and Jeff kept it close, 137 to 129. Grizz takes the win, though. Nick, I'll toss this one your way first. What'd you see?
I mean, Debo going absolutely ape shit for the second week this year, 31.7. You had Cooley just bitching about how he was out of it. Jeff was going off, scoring all those touchdowns at the beginning on the first slate of games. I thought Jeff had it in the bag. I went and played basketball, came back, and he was down. I was like, good gosh. Yeah. Good performance out of your team, Jeff. Just not quite enough to get the champs off.
Yeah, Deebo Samuel getting just absolutely left wide open for a 76-yard touchdown doesn't help. Even going into some of those late games, right, Jeff, you needed 20 points from Damian Harris and Josh Jacobs. New England was down at the 1 yard. I really didn't expect much of anything from Damian Harris, but New England got down. They got tackled at the 1 yard line. I was like, okay, this is, if he gets a touchdown here, Jeff's back in play because Josh Jacobs can easily get, a 10 ball for you. And they end up throwing it to Johnny Smith. But, that was the one play that really seemed to be the turning point for me. I was like, oh, if this goes Jeff's way, he's got a chance to come back. It didn't go like that. So, Cooley had some duds. You never see 4 points from Travis Kelce, but here we are.
What?
Nyheim Hines, I don't know how you can trust him much going forward. Getting 0.1 points and coming off a week. Didn't he have a 16.4 point game last week? So far, Cooley has not played him, and he got 11 points. Played him, he got 2.7 points. Not played him, he got 16.4. Played him, he got 0.1.
Yeah.
So
got his ass.
Even if that seems like it's going to be a nice play for him from now on, can't imagine that's going to be something that mentally he's going to want to do. Jeff, what about you in this game? What else you got?
Yeah, just to kind of recap that, going into that, the last late two games, sitting down by 20 points with two running backs, I'm feeling pretty hopeful, but I'm also not loving that Tampa Bay defense that Harris was going against. So I was like, I'm going to have to lean more on Jacobs. And at the time he was kind of questionable too, if he was going to play or not. So there was a couple of things that were kind of questionable that I didn't really know how they were going to play out. But, I like to see how my team performed. They got 129 points. That's probably the one positive coming out of this 0-4 start to the season. So hopeful for what to come, and just really liked how my wide receivers performed, and even Lawrence, watching that Thursday night game, he just looked better and had a lot more rushing attempts. That was nice to see. So the champ found a way to get it done, and did enough. Did enough.
Just enough. I think better days are probably ahead for Damian Harris.
True.
He only had 2 targets in the game, but he had more receiving yards than he's had in any other game this year.
Yeah.
So that's a little, there's some hope there with James White being out that maybe he gets just a couple extra his way. Plus, he's got Houston this week, which is going to be a much nicer matchup for him. I think there's potential for better days ahead for the juggernaut running back room.
Is Barkley back?
What was that?
Is Barkley back?
It seems
in
that way.
Rookie season form, or you think this is just a one game splash of that over? Because what did he get last week? It wasn't quite 18.4.
Yeah, he had a touchdown last week that saved him, or that gave him a decent day. But I will say,
he had a good game though.
The thing that I I've heard presented about Barkley is I don't know if getting back to rookie year Barkley is really going to ever be a thing. When you go from Eli Manning dumping it down the amount that he did to Daniel Jones, who has the ability to run, he just has a naturally longer average depth of target. He's pushing the ball downfield a little bit more. I just don't think that he's ever going to see the target volume that he did to be able to make plays in space. Still going to be a fantastic player. I just think that maybe it's never going to quite be back to what people expected was going to be this transcendent year over year every game.
Mm-hmm.
I think the upside's capped just a little bit. So moving on to our next game, we got I Am Left-Handed and Coach Kyle Monroe taking on the SCLSU Mud Dogs and coaches Joe Harper and Troy Hecht. The lefties were only an 8-point favorite in this one and took that and ran 153-78. We all called this. We all kind of expected this. I don't know how really deep we gotta get into this one as far as analysis, right? It seemed to end up kind of how we thought it would. Tyreek Hill went off. Cordero Patterson surprised us a little bit, I think, with what he was able to do. I don't know how sustainable that is, but
that's what I was
for now. He seems like he's got to play. Couple injuries on Troy's side that. Troy and Joe's side that made it maybe tough to really capitalize on anything, but also Christian Kirk not getting hurt and only getting 1 catch, and Will Fuller only 1 catch before he got hurt, and then Myles Gaskin 3 rush yards, no catches. That's a tough line, and man, you need that to at some point for him to be in any way useful. Jeff, what else you see here?
Not too much, other than kind of a surprising dud for CeeDee Lamb. They had 36 points, and he just wasn't really involved. He had 2 receptions for 13 yards. I don't think that's going to be the norm going forward. I think it just kind of happened that way. But, I do want to point out that Cordero Patterson play that Kyle had. Sitting Hopkins and playing him, that takes a lot of balls.
The balls on this guy.
Yeah, for it to come through, that was surprising. I know when he scored that first touchdown, I pulled up this score just to see if he had him in or was sitting on his bench, and the fact that he had him in his starting lineup kind of surprised me. So, nice play by the tier 1, number 1 ranked guy in our league right now.
Yeah, and Nick, I'll toss it over to you, but there's not going to be many games where you got 2 receivers getting 3 touchdowns each, right? That's just an explosion that's not going to happen all the time. So, anything else in this one, Nick?
That's absurd. I don't know what Kyle's going to do with that Odell Beckham. I don't know if I'd start him. I mean, he's got so many other options, it doesn't really matter. I don't even know why we're talking about it. Never mind. I take back what I said. I don't even care.
Rewind. Well, Nick does not care. Moving on to our next one. We got the Aaron Rodgers football team and Coach Tony Fisher taking on Ball is Life and Coach John Lamers. The football team was an 8-point favorite in this one. Could not quite cover 110-103 despite picking up the absolute late game stunner. Winning it in Monday night, having just an absolute blow-up game from Austin Eckler. Jeff, I'll toss it to you first. What do you got here?
Yeah, that was surprising. What what John was up 18 points and with Mike Williams, and he told me he had Eckler and ended up losing by 7. That's you don't really expect that to happen like you would see, John had some good plays. We talked about it on his sits with
no shit
shits with his tight end and his flex.
Start shit.
So the fact that he ended up going with those guys, it didn't pay off for him. Sometimes it happens, John, but why are you listening to us? We're just 3 idiots talking out here.
We're always wrong. I mean, right.
But
so
go ahead.
It is curious with that though. Had he started, the best possible play was Darrell Henderson over Chuba Hubbard, right? If he had made that call, still loses the game. If he had taken my advice and started Jonnu Smith over Tyler Conklin, still loses the game. So he would have had to change both of those things. I don't feel bad about it, our calls at all. Those are still – it's not like Hubbard came out and did nothing, right? He still had 57 rush yards, which is a solid day, 8 points. High-scoring game. I trust the process. I think we're geniuses still.
And John's got that 18 points going into that, he's got to feel really good going into that last game. And then, to see and come away with a loss, that's got to sting. He's going to remember this one for the remainder of this season, I'd have to imagine.
Mike Williams, sure. 1.6. That's just craziness.
So, Nick, especially I got to ask you, are we believers in the Tony Fisher train now? The football team now winning 3 in a row after just an awful week 1. Are we believers?
I'm starting to get there. I was a believer a little bit prior to. Chris Carson, though, what did he get hurt during that game, or what does it say? 13 rushing yard or 13 attempts and only 30 yards on 3.6.
Yeah, I have to think he got hurt during the game. I have to be honest, I didn't watch it.
I can't remember.
Alex Collins had 10 attempts, had a touchdown. So I don't know if that was in relief or if that was just kind of a split, ride the hot hand or whatever. But
I don't know if I'm a believer in the 2 Miami wide receiver starts week in and week out. I mean, when Michael Thomas, hopefully that comes in and he can pick one that's actually hotter between the 2. But we'll see. I think I am a believer. Swift needs to pick it up.
All right, we got at least one believer on staff. I kind of believe too, but
there it is.
Moving on to our next matchup, we got the Archduke Fish and Coach Mike Fisher taking on Benny and the Jets and Coach Ben Stelzer. The Dukes were a 2-point favorite in this one, took the 116-109 win, despite a bum performance from Tom Brady on Sunday Night Football that I really thought was going to be an explosion, but did just enough. Really the story here to me is Dalvin Cook wasn't healthy, right? He wasn't what you needed him to be. He wasn't back to 100%. That would have changed this game entirely. Nick, I'll toss it to you. What do you see?
Yeah, you had my back here. I had you at my guarantee winning this game. I took you to cover it. I had faith, baby. Playoff bound. I mean, we all thought that Tom Brady, I thought the revenge game was going to be an explosion. I actually, on the other side, they played pretty good. The Patriots played decent. I was super surprised defense-wise.
Yeah, and you kept,
Matt Jones too.
I'm not enough of a raw football nerd. I'm a fantasy football nerd. I'm not enough of a raw football nerd to fully know all of the different coverages and all the different defensive formations and all that stuff. I know it a little bit, but not to the extent that I would need to really understand. So all I can really do is take what the broadcasters say, who, they are football nerds. Yeah. They live that stuff. And they just kept talking about the fact that it was different coverages every play. It was different looks. They were showing things that you don't show to a quarterback, and then doing totally different things. Every defense is going to try to confuse somebody, going to try to get them off their game, but it just seems like this was just another level, a different level of the amount that was being thrown at Brady. So yeah, I think credit has to go to Belichick in that one. But Jeff, what else do you see in this matchup? Yeah,
on Benny's side of the ball, he had a strong start to the week with Boyd in that Thursday game coming out with 16.3. I thought that was a little surprising, but with Higgins out, he got to throw it somewhere, I guess. But Cooper Kupp kind of came down to earth. He didn't have his monster showing that he's had the first 3 weeks, and so that with Cook, kind of right on that average that we were talking about in the league feed of about 110, 105. He's right there in the middle at 108. So Mike, you got enough out of there, and it's got to be nice to see Marquise Brown with that touchdown catch after dropping 3 of them the week before. It was I was happy to see that.
Did you see the play? Because he can't catch the easy ones, but when he's laying out for it, then apparently it's easy, right?
Yeah,
you can't think.
Doesn't have time to think about it.
Yeah. So now this game really seemed to be how my team is built, right? My running backs are studs. My receivers do enough, pretty much 10 plus across the board at my receivers. I really got to think if George Kittle finally finds his feet and breaks out, I think my team's going to be tough to beat. He just hasn't quite done it yet. He almost had a touchdown. I mean, he had like a 40-yard touchdown in his hands, gets lit up in the middle of it, can't come down with it. That's you don't blame him for that, but you would really like to see him pull that down, and suddenly it's a monster game. So, hopefully,
you
got
faith in him. You got faith in him going forward, Kittle, to really get back on track here?
Oh, 100%. I mean, he had 11 targets in that game.
That's what I was about to say. That target share
I'm not going away from that. It seems really clear that it's Debo and it's Kittle, right? Ayuk is kind of out of the equation here, which I'm happy with, right? If that's reduced to 2 targets, even if he is the number 2 right now, I'm totally happy with that for a tight end.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hell yeah.
Moving on to our last matchup. Yeah, moving on to our last matchup, we got Old Man Joe and Coach Joe Thomas taking on the Taint Ticklers and Coach Nick Stoll. Taint Ticklers were the 12-point favorite in this one. I used some live game action to influence my decision, and it worked for me. Old Man Joe taking the 117-95 victory here. Jeff, why don't you rip on Nick a little bit? What'd you see?
Yeah, Nick, your wide receivers, I mean, those 2 acquisitions in the offseason with Robinson and Allen, they just, as you're aware of it, they just haven't really paid out for you. So, Higbee didn't really have a very good, too bad of a game. He kind of had average with 5.6. You're hoping for a little bit more, but Kamara and Gibson, same thing, just all around average week for you and putting up 95. I think it's gonna be tough if you get these scores going forward, but you look at the name of your players and you just expect more out of those guys. So kind of disappointing week.
Disappointing year, Jeff.
It's early. That's
true.
It is early. If I can have a glimmer of hope at 1-3, you can have a glimmer. I'm right there. David Montgomery put up 22 points before getting hurt. That'll hurt in the future for Joe's team here. DJ Moore is looking like he's going to be a monster all year long. So you love to see that. The trade away of Noah Fant for Keenan Allen came back and bit you here. What else you got in this one, Nick?
Nothing much. I want to go back to that Moore comment. Oh man, I should have got him instead of Keenan Allen. He looks so freaking good and so heavily involved in that offense. But I don't. My team is just disappointing. You got these names and just not performing week in and week out. It's just their ceilings are pretty low too. It feels like so far this year. So just hit the bum of the week, buddy.
Nick's bum of the week.
Spare any change, sir? No, off!
Fuck this Taysom Hill guy. I mean, he scored 2 touchdowns, but he's still the bum of the week for taking those touchdowns away from Kamara. I'm pissed off at this guy. That's all I have.
An interesting bum of the week if there ever was one.
We should pitch in and get Nick a Taysom Hill jersey, Mike. Send it to him.
That's not a bad idea.
I'll burn that shit.
Maybe we can put that on the back of his Radishcast t-shirt.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm kind of living this with you, Nick, to an extent. When you got big names that you feel like you can't bench them, right? How do you bench Allen Robinson after what he's done for so many years? But it's got to be getting to that point where you got to start considering. That's where I'm at with Robert Woods, right? How do you bench Robert Woods after what he's been doing? Robert Woods' 2 good games this year have been garbage time touchdowns, right? So I'm going to keep rolling with him as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure you are probably going to do similar, mostly because I don't think you have a fantastic option that you feel like you can plug
Galladay,
in.
Shepard, bleh.
Randall Cobb.
Yeah, it's kind of hit or miss with those two.
Randall Cobb.
Cobb had 2 touchdowns. If he keeps it up and he keeps producing, maybe you kind of connect the dots with no Marquez Valdez-Scantling in the lineup anymore, that maybe you do get that confidence, but it seems like you almost have to get burned for 2 more weeks before you can do that, right? So
yeah.
And at that point,
it's
it's too late.
hurt.
So
It might be if I lose 2 more games.
Yeesh. All right, so after a much better week of predicting by the team here, so Jeff was 3-3 this week, is tied with me, who was 4-2 this week for second place here at 10-14. Nick pulling up to even with a 4-2 week as well. So a commanding 2-game lead over the 2 of us. We'll see how that changes next week, but the race for the ring continues. I'm keeping it safe. Don't you worry.
He has to show it like every time.
Every time.
Bastard.
All right. Well, we're going to take a little detour here. We have a little bit of a different interview for all of you guys, so we're going to jump into a little conversation we had with Coach Kyle Monroe. All right. We're here with Coach Kyle Monroe of I Am Left-Handed. Welcome, Kyle.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. Big fan.
First time, long time. First time, long time. No, yeah, we as we continue to make our rounds, I might just have people, rather than asking people, I might just have people start sending in like applications to be on the show.
Wow, that's intense.
We can go through the review process and pick who we want.
The real question is going to be when somebody who's like not even in the league, I get an application and
a listener.
That's what a listener. That's when you know we're going to make it big. I do know. Shout out to Travis Clark. I do know he just subscribed to the channel and watches it now and then, so
what a stud.
But anyway, back to Kyle. So no, it's Wednesday evening right now. So I know this is even ahead a little bit of the usual week, but I asked a little favor from Kyle, and I think we got the rankings ready, the weekly coaches power rankings ready a day early. So Kyle, I guess kind of how we're going to do this is I'm gonna hand it over to you. Why don't you run us through tier by tier, and we'll kind of talk about each tier. So what's tier 1 of the power rankings looking like?
Yeah, so real quick before that, the only way this was possible, I had to really hawk down Tony and Nick. They seem to be
here it is. I got it in, dude.
But,
week in and week out, it's those 2 guys.
Week. Nick was last. At least he submitted, so we're happy to have all 12 coaches involved. But similar to the past few weeks, the lefties are sitting in tier 1 by themselves, garnering all first place votes. Is what it is. Not much to talk about there, really. I don't think.
Is it because of your strong defense that you only have like 335 points scored against you? Is that part of the rankings in there?
And scoring more than 60 points than everyone else in the league, you never have to run into at least one of the juggernauts in the league. But the defense helps. Troy shit the bed this week, so we like that. Yeah, I saw my little CBS recap said he had the lowest yardage total of anybody in the league in a single game from their team this year. So
what?
If it wasn't for some touchdowns, then apparently Jeff might have got off the hook with that 62er earlier.
There's still a lot of time left.
Couple injuries will do that too.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. I don't know if there's a lot to talk about in tier 1. Still bold keeping yourself in that tier by yourself, but
yeah, we get it, Kyle. Your team's good, dude.
Especially with 5 teams sitting at 3-1 to believe that. But anyway, why don't we jump down to tier 2 and talk there?
All right, yeah. So tier 2. So majority of kind of how I break up the tiers is based on their average ranking. So with mine being an average of 1, coming in at second place this week is Cooley, jumping up from 7. He got an average ranking of 3, and joining him in tier 2 is Mike, who the coaches seem to be back on with an average ranking of 3.45. And it's just those two sitting in tier 2 this week for me.
Really?
Yeah, so it's really interesting, honestly. So I do a little bit of just data crunching off to the side, just as far as like our league and how things are breaking out. And it's funny. So I have an updated model for my own playoff projections, and right now in my model, Cooley is sitting at the number 2 seed. So that doesn't surprise me at all. I think I probably ranked Cooley right around there. Either of those guys get any first place votes? I know that there's one first place vote outstanding.
I believe Cooley did get the outstanding first place vote this week. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Either you two guys got anything else on tier 2?
No, that's pretty much what you would expect with those. So I'm glad the league is kind of leaning and getting back on the Mike train, and Cooley's just been consistently climbing. So.
Yeah, I mean, I did that same thing with Mike. I dropped him last week. I got him back up there this week too, though. So I'm okay with that. I mean, looking at points for, Benny's up there, but I don't know. I don't know if you can put him in that tier with those two.
Yeah,
especially
so
with the 2 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one interesting thing, right? I obviously believe in the talent of my team, but to be up there with the 3 losses is a little bit surprising to me. But yeah, I don't know. To give you a perspective, Cooley's in my number 2 spot in my playoff projection model. I'm down in the 7 spot just because of the losses I already have.
Yeah.
That I have one of the highest breakdowns in the league, so my projection moving forward is really high. But just having those 3 losses, it's tough. So, moving on to tier 3, what do you got there?
Yeah, so tier 3, this is kind of the heart of the shakeup. So we got Tony and Ben came in at a tie with the same amount of points at 4.18 for their average vote. Then I went who had the more second place finishes. They had the same amount there. More third place finishes, same amount there. Out in fourth place finishes by 1. So we got Tony coming in at the top of tier 3. Followed by Ben, and rounding out tier 3, we have Stank at 4.73 for his average placement.
Okay.
Yeah, so interesting. I mean, you can, based on last week, right? Obviously, the tiers look a little bit different, but you can either look at it as, Tony bumping up a tier or those other 2 dropping down, whichever way. It's obviously not that simple because there's just some breakups. But the teams I would expect, Jeff, anything specific on those 3?
No, nothing too crazy. I like Tony's team, Ben's team, and then I think the big surprise would be Cobra Kai and his start to the season. I didn't really expect him to be sitting at 3-1 4 weeks in, but with that and the amount of points that he's scoring, you can see why he's in that tier 3 there. So,
Nick, I know we touched on Benny a little bit, but are you surprised to see him? I mean, second place in that tier. You talked about how he's got all those points just being 1 game out, right? Is that enough? We see me at 1 and 3 up in tier 2. Is being 2 and 2 enough to drop him down that far?
I'm not sure. Maybe it has something to do with his depth too. Maybe that's taken into account in the coaches poll. They're putting that in there. I'm actually curious about Tony's team, if he's going to skyrocket with Michael Thomas coming back. I mean, who knows how that's going to be, but I'd be curious to see. What week is that? 7?
He's eligible to come back week 7
him.
because they got the week 6 bye.
Yeah.
But yeah. And any thoughts from you, Kyle, on kind of that middle, that meaty tier, maybe the end of the playoff projected teams?
At least for me, just this whole 2 to 8 has been an absolute shakeup week by week. Made a graph that should be getting up sometime in this podcast when it's.
We'll throw it up on the screen right now.
Yeah.
Boom.
I forget that's how it works. But I mean, you can see in the graph itself, there are just lines going every which direction starting around week 2. Nobody can get a grasp on this 2 to 8 group. It's, been switching up every week. I think Cooley came in from the 7 to the 2. Tony went from 8 to 6 to 4. So, I mean, there's just a lot of variation week by week. So I think that's going to make for a real interesting playoff run down the line when we got 6 spots and, I mean, at least according to the coaches, 8 guys trying to fill it.
Mm-hmm.
True.
For sure. And interestingly enough, one of those names that never comes up in that top 8 is 3-1 Old Man Joe, right? He's sitting firmly at number 4 or 5 in my playoff projections at least. So, you can't deny wins that are already on the board. So why don't we move on to that next tier there, Kyle?
Yeah, so tier 4, I always hate making a middle of the pack kind of tier by themselves, but I put Jordan tier 4 by himself. He got a 6.36 average placement, which is over a point and a half away from tier 3, and he's almost a point and a half away from tier 5. So I kind of felt like he didn't deserve to be in either of the groups, so I just put him alone in tier 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always, this kind of raises the question of, right, what is a power ranking? So is it how good that team is right now, how good you think that team will finish, right? Everybody perceives it a little bit differently. So, I'm curious if Christian McCaffrey doesn't miss this last game and adds 30 points to Jordan's team, is he really in this tier, or is he a tier up? So I think that's the right call, having him in a tier by himself, but I think it might be a little misleading of some people with some recency bias maybe dropping him more than he should.
I know I can speak from my perspective. If McCaffrey was in there and he would have got that win, he would have stayed pretty high up in my rankings, but I know I dropped him just slightly because of that. So
yeah, same here. That same situation. Is McCaffrey trying to come back too this week?
He sounds like he might. Yeah, he practiced. Sounds like he might try it, but it is. It's like I said, it's really interesting. But Kyle, to your point, right? You got all those 8 teams that are all vying. Maybe it just takes one bad week to drop you that far.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, Jordan came in at number 2 in our ranks last week, and now he's down at 7.
Yeah,
so that just shows how 1 week of McCaffrey being out can really send you down.
Sway the entire league.
Yeah.
No loyalty,
now, George. Yeah, none.
All right, let's jump down to what we got, tier 5 now.
Yep. So we got tier 5. We got 3 teams in this tier. Leading the charge is Nick at 7.82 average rank, closely followed up by John at 7.91, and then Joe rounds out the pack at 8.45. For me, the interesting one was Joe. I mean, he's 3-1. I don't know what else people want from him. Like, I don't think Montgomery being hurt probably doesn't help, but man, a 3-1 team being 10th overall ranked just doesn't feel right to me, at least.
Yeah, it's definitely going to take. I think it's taken people some time to forget the off-season bias, right? You go through all these ranks in the off-season, and you kind of have in your mind. I mean, look at my team. You have in your mind that it's a good team. Well, 1-3 is not good. 3-1 is good. So it definitely has taken people time to adjust to that. I think people maybe in the next week or 2 will see that rebound a little bit, just as people get bigger and bigger samples. Only 3 teams in the league have failed to score at least 129 points this year. I'm making it 129 just for you, Jeff.
Yeah. It's a nice number.
And 2 of them are right there that we just talked about, right? Nick and Old Man Joe. So I think that might be part of it, right? Joe just hasn't shown any sort of ceiling yet that anyone can feel really comfortable about. But it's interesting that people are ranking Nick higher at 1-3 when he also hasn't shown any sort of ceiling.
That's also true.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, looking at points for, me and him are right next to each other. He's what, 3rd lowest or 2nd lowest, it looks like? Yeah, so it's Jeff. Troy, Jeff, and then Old Man Joe, then me. So, I mean, he hasn't, to your point, Mike, he hasn't really shown anything that high ceiling. And I personally don't like his team too much when you look at it visually.
Montgomery going out is going to kind of hurt him, but he's got his backup at least. But it is interesting to see that, Nick, I know I had you ranked really high up there at the start of the season, and you just slowly have kind of climbed down. So you being in tier 5 right now is a little surprising 4 weeks through.
Yeah. That meme summarizes it from Kyle that he put out the other day. You remember that, Kyle?
Oh yeah, and obviously everyone's seen the graph now, but you'll notice that Nick went from 11th in the post-draft rankings to 3rd in the first week ranking, and then to 6th to 8th to 8th. So he's went from everyone thinking his team's terrible to making 2 trades and he's a top 3 team, and now he's
garbage.
Yeah.
So now I'm garbage.
Year of the tape, baby.
And the team we haven't really talked about from this tier yet, which is John, right? He's probably the team that I'm most conflicted about. You know, I think his team is right on the cusp of being awesome or being terrible, and I really struggle with it. So the next 2 weeks are probably going to tell a lot for that one for me. So Kyle, why don't we jump on to tier 6 here?
Yep, so the last tier are loyal customers down here in tier 6 of Troy and Jeff. Or should say the Mud Dogs and Jeff. Sorry about that. So this week we got 7 last place votes for Jeff and 5 for Troy. So they're still kind of splitting hairs down there. But there was a attempt to get Josh Gordon's sponsor rated above Jeff in this week's ranking. It seems every week I've been getting a couple interesting ones. So I'd like to fill people in on what some of the other people are sending me. But anything you guys got on this last tier?
No, I was actually really curious about more than anything the order of this tier, right? You got Jeff at 0-4, but you also have Jeff just putting up 129 points, kind of showing that he has at least week-winning ability. Troy and Joe are that other team I mentioned that hasn't really had much of a ceiling game yet this year, but he's got 2 wins. So that shakeup is always curious how people are perceiving that.
Mm-hmm. One other interesting thing. So Jeff's received either last or second to last votes, but Troy this week did get a 9th place vote out of the 11 possible when not voting for yourself. And one unnamed league member gave Nick that 10 spot.
Ooh, a nice little change.
That's fine.
Oh man, that is all of my I looked at a lot of data from last year, and really about week 6 was when everything seemed to level off. All the projections and everything that was pretty indicative of people's success seemed to level off right about week 6. So I think this week, week 5, and next week maybe is when we'll start to see these rankings stabilize a little bit more.
A little separation between the league.
Yeah, for sure. So Kyle, we appreciate all this. It's a little different interview than maybe we're used to, but that's the nice part about having other publications in the league. Sometimes we can give you guys the spotlight to show. So maybe this can be an inspiration to some of the other. Buffalo Lefties Sportsbook has been a little quiet this year. Maybe
true.
Maybe they'll evolve. So. With all that, it's not a special guest appearance without your own segment. So,
Monroe's bland food choice.
It's a simple question. Is there or is there not anything edible on this menu?
So Monroe's bland food choice. Take it away, Kyle.
So my choice for that this week is going to be DK Metcalf. He's gotten 53 to I think like 64 to 65 yards in 3 of the 4 weeks. Touchdown in 3 of the 4. His total has been 14, 8, 14, and 19. So if you'd have got a touchdown in that week where he got 53 yards, you'd have had 14 again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a guy that I didn't want to pick someone who's going to score like nothing because obviously that's bland, but I think he's a guy that with Lockett in that offense and the Seahawks are running about 10 to 12 plays below league average right now, I just don't see him hitting what his physical upside is. So I think that for that reason, he's going to be my bland choice of the week.
I'm hoping for an extra bland week from him this week. So
he's got that Thursday night game too with everyone watching.
I'm excited for that one.
We'll find out sooner than later.
It's going to be a busy one. So, all right, Kyle. Well, we appreciate you stopping by. We appreciate getting the ranks a little bit early.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. Yeah, I love having to hound down some of the league members just to make this work today, especially when
I don't know.
podcast, probably knowing I was coming on.
Who is that, Jeff?
Yeah, okay, dude.
The eyes peeled in the coming weeks. I'm expecting to do a early mid-season trade recap similar to the one that I did from last year.
Nice.
Working through the off-season trades and some of these early ones just to see how those kind of shaken out so far and what the thoughts for the future are.
Man, you must have a lot of time on your hand there, bud.
See ya.
All right, Kyle. See ya.
Bye.
All right, back from that interview. Nice to talk to Kyle. Nice to get those rankings a little earlier than typical. But why don't we jump into next week's matchups?
Dive on into the Husky League matchups.
All right, our first matchup of the day is I Am Left-Handed at 3-1, taking on Cobra Kai at 3-1. The lefties are a 3-point favorite, pretty tight line in this one. Nick, I'll toss it your way first. What you see?
I think we're just gonna have to keep rolling with Kyle. I mean, he starts Cordell Patterson, and it's a great start. Oh, I call Stinky Kyle, and then so Monroe. I'm going with Monroe, not Stankowski here.
You'd be wrong if you pick Kyle's.
That actually, I think Kyle is going to win this game.
Just be super vague the whole time. I got Kyle. Yeah. I think he's got some good plays, some nice matchups for those plays. Anything else you wanted to get into? I know we kind of derailed you there a little bit, Nick.
No, I mean, just rolling with him again. He's got Cordell Patterson in there again. We'll see if he pays off. First week he started him, but this will be his fourth game in a row if it hits. Zeke against New York, I like that. It's just there's nice matchups. Hill coming off that monster game. I think I think he's going to cover that pretty easily.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm taking Monroe to cover this one. 3 is a pretty tight line to me. I'm basically looking at that as just who I think is going to win straight up, and I think I got Kyle in this one. Stankowski's got some nice matchups. He's got a couple guys like James Robinson, like Ryan Tannehill with some really good matchups this week. Devontae Adams against Cincinnati, I think, is going to be real nice for him. But in a tight line game,
too.
Yeah, in a tight line game, I think it's tough to pick against Monroe here. So that's how I'm rolling. Jeff, how about you?
Yeah, no, you guys hit on it. So I'm gonna roll with Monroe. I just like his players a little bit more than Kyle's Stankowski's matchups this week.
They do the same thing.
No, I got KMO covering here.
Yeah, so real quick then, we do have a start-sit question. We're all picking Monroe to win this one. Kyle Stankowski is asking for that wide receiver 3 spot. Does he roll with Robbie Anderson, or does he go to the ageless wonder of A.J. Green? I don't know. Jeff, why don't I throw this one to you first?
So my philosophy, if I'm playing Monroe, is I need to shoot for the stars. So I'm going to go with Robbie Anderson and just hope that he catches and has a few long touchdowns, and just puts up a monster game similar to what he did early on last year. So that's who I'm going with in this start to question.
Nick, how about you?
Wow, this is tough. I didn't know AJ Green was scoring that many points the last 3 weeks. I must have been under a rock or something. I mean, Robbie Anderson had 11 targets last week to go against Philly. Who is Cardinals going against?
Cardinals have San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if you go with AJ Green, Murray's going to get points for it too. So I think, you're going to shoot for the stars here and hope everything aligns. Like Jeff said, go Robbie Anderson.
And I guess I don't see this quite as lopsided as you guys do. I think Stank is going to be able to keep it close without necessarily needing a total moonshot. for me, it comes down to is Christian McCaffrey playing? Because that's really the only difference that I can see as far as game plan or anything that's giving Robbie Anderson 11 targets all of a sudden last week. If Christian McCaffrey's out, roll with the data you have behind you, right? He misses one game. Robbie Anderson goes back to 11 targets. Robbie Anderson got a ton of targets last year when Christian McCaffrey was barely playing. So if McCaffrey sits, I'm probably going to roll Robbie. If he doesn't, I'm probably going to – you talked about, if A.J. Green scores points, though, that means that Kyler Murray's scoring points. But that also means Kyler Murray's not running it in. That means DeAndre Hopkins isn't catching it.
That's also true.
So there is leverage as far as starting A.J. Green. And A.J. Green's had 6 targets a game all the way through. So, I think Robbie Anderson's floor is there. And so far, A.J. Green has shown that he's got a pretty safe floor, especially these last 3 weeks. So if McCaffrey's in, I'm starting A.J. If McCaffrey's out, I'm starting Robbie.
Yeah, you changed my opinion. You swayed me, Mike. I like that. I like that argument.
I choose his analysis.
I like that a lot.
You got me.
That's what I want.
That what he said. All right. Moving on to our next matchup, we got Benny and the Jets at 2-2 taking on Jay's Juggernauts at 0-4. Benny and the Jets are a 17-point favorite in this one. Nick, I'll toss it your way first. What you got?
I am saying he's going to cover, Jeff. I'm sorry. Ooh. That is a big line after a great week last week. Yep. But I think Kupp is going to go nuclear this week. I think they're going to come in pissed. Seattle's defense is shit. I know it's a Thursday night game, and who really knows what happens in those off that short week. But I don't know, man. I think Kupp's going to have a big game. Diggs against Kansas City. I know he's had kind of mediocre play so far. Right. But I think he's going to have a big game too. They're going to have to. Hunt, I don't understand that, why he's getting all the goal line carries, but he is. So, yep. Sorry, Jeff.
Hey.
And I'm actually Jeff. I got you this week. I think you've got some good matchups that you can potentially keep it close. I think Kareem Hunt against the Chargers is not a good matchup. Tough. They've been really good defense this year, especially for a guy who's going to be the RB2 for his team. Dalvin Cook's been beat up, in a game against Detroit. If they're putting it to him, are they really going to keep pounding him against a wall, or are they going to give him a couple more spells? So, I think, Jeff, the Jets matchup for the Falcons, Damian Harris against Houston, Josh Jacobs against Chicago. I think those are all matchups that I'm happy playing. And so I'm rolling with you to cover this one, Jeff. I'll toss it your way last. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I'm gonna choose myself. Why change something now here? So I think I'll cover this.
Change it.
17's a lot of points too.
It is a lot.
To Mike, to your point, I am most concerned with Cook against Detroit. If he's healthy and he's in there, I think he's going to do pretty well. If he's kind of banged up or, they really want to control him and his health wise, I'm hoping, he maybe doesn't go Dalvin Cook level like he has. But the other thing too is, I'm a little concerned at the health of Amari Cooper, and to see if he's going to be out there or not, because he finished the game, but that hamstring, and you could tell just in watching that game, he was visibly hurt and hampered by it. So I like my matchups. Like you mentioned, the Jets going against Texans, Bears. I'm not too worried about the Bears, and their defense, and McLaurin last week just looked really good. So I think I got enough in here to cover, and I'm hoping for my first win here.
If Amari Cooper does sit, I'm guessing that's a Curtis Samuel week, or
yeah. Just looking at my bench, there's a little bit in here. Curtis Samuel is probably the safest play. That Raymond from the Lions, he had a pretty good week last week.
Raymond has been doing well.
I don't think I could do that. The only other thing I would do would slide Mooney up and then put Latavius Murray in my flex would be the other kind of option. But right now I'm just hoping that Cooper can be out there, because when he's out there, he gets enough points to be in that starting lineup.
That Ravens backfield is really interesting to me. The Tyson Williams inactive doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm a little biased that I'm a Tyson owner here, but to take a guy who was getting 50% of snaps and then all of a sudden just drop him out of the hat, and you bring in Le'Veon Bell to take 10% of snaps and 3 carries, that just doesn't make a ton of sense. So I guess I'm hopeful that it's a discipline thing, that it's he tweaked his ankle that morning coming off the plane, or some reason where it happened, and not just they're going forward without him. But right now, if Tyson's out, those other two do not look good. I'd have some confidence in Latavius.
Yeah.
Nick, I got it on my sheet. I don't know who it is though.
Oh, yeah.
Nick's garbage time all-star.
I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring, and then I start eating garbage.
All right. Classic Nick picking someone on someone's bench. Your boy for Garbage Time All-Star. Danny Dimes! Let's go! I think Dallas has been playing very good. I know New York has been playing terrible, but it's at Dallas. I think the line's 7. -7 Dallas. So I think he's going to get a touchdown. It has to be a touchdown, right?
Yep.
Has to
be a touchdown.
Yeah. Let's go, Danny.
Interesting.
Let's go, Danny. All right, moving on to our next one. We got Old Man Joe at 3-1, taking on the SCLSU Mud Dogs at 2-2. Old Man Joe is the 10-point favorite in this one. This is probably the biggest surprise record game of the week, right? Like, not a lot of people pick Joe to be 3-1. Not a lot of people pick the Mud Dogs at 2-2. So a chance for one of them to kind of cement themselves and really put the league on notice here. The thing that sticks out to me most in this game is Myles Gaskin against Tampa Bay. This is not going to be a fun matchup for the Mud Dogs here. And on the other end, Damian Williams going against Las Vegas, stepping in for David Montgomery. Justin Fields just got named the starting quarterback this week, even with a healthy Dalton. So, what does that look like? What kind of, he's a really good pass catching back. What kind of work does he get there? I thought he's looked like he's had some juice in these last couple games. So I'd be, perfectly fine starting Damian Williams. But that'll be definitely one that I'm keeping my eye on. Jeff, who you got in this one?
I'm gonna go with Joe on this one. You touched on the Damian Williams. I think that's a good start. I like what I see out of DJ Moore and even Chenault to that aspect of it. He's been, last week at least, he was pretty surprising, and I'm hoping that him and Lawrence connection just continues. So, I like what I see on Joe's side here, and it's more so I think that, Troy's starting 2 tight ends. We've been on the cast here. We're not big fans of that. And I just didn't like what I saw out of Kirk, and even Mixon with him kind of banged up. It's just, even if he has P. Ryan in there, it's not Joe Mixon. So it's a little hard to kind of pick that way. So I'm rolling with Joe on this one.
Yeah, and I guess from my end, I'm gonna take the Mud Dogs here. I think they do enough to cover this. That Myles Gaskin is that's really, really tough. I'm basically counting that as a 0 when I'm looking at this. But I think the line will change as, right now Joe Mixon's projected for 8, and so is Samaje Perine, because they just don't know who's going to start. So one of those guys is going to get a bump as far as their projection, for whatever that's worth. But Samaje has been taking some of that third down work away from Joe Mixon. I think that maybe if Mixon gets ruled out, that maybe Samaje gets even a slightly more of a role. He's not as good, so it's probably net neutral at best. But yeah, no, Quintez Cephas not real happy about. Michael Carter is not someone I have a ton of faith in at this point. I think this is the week Kyle Pitts shows us some of that draft capital. I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a good week. And Dalton Schultz has been having good weeks, right? We hate starting 2 tight ends, but of the tight ends, I guess roll with the one that was the number 4 pick in the draft and the one that's been lighting it up. So So I don't hate it. I think this is going to be a low enough scoring game overall that the Mud Dogs can do enough to keep it tight. Nick, what about you?
I think Old Man Joe's going to cover here. Chark is dead, right? He's gone.
He's
How
gone.
long is he out?
Yeah, he's out.
Fractured ankle.
So Chenault to look a little bit better here. I know we talked about it. Cephas, I don't love that. Maybe this is going to be a pretty high-scoring game. You got Kirk Cousins in there against Detroit. That always feels good. Sanders against Carolina. I don't know about that Carolina defense. Are they that good, or just did they play no one the first 3 weeks?
I think they're that good, and they just traded for Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. I did see that today.
I like their defense.
I think they're good. I think they're for real.
The other thing too, guys, is you touch on the Cephas, but is Brown going to be healthy enough to play? And if he is, are you going to throw him in that lineup for there? Because
he's back to practice, and if it's him or Cephas, I'm probably going to say I trust this.
Yeah, exactly. So AJ Brown in the starting lineup changes a little bit in my opinion. So
yeah.
I
think if AJ Brown is healthy, especially with the matchup against Jacksonville, I think that makes me look stupid, right? I think this game kind of is a runaway if you make that swap.
It's not like he's been going off, but I mean the name-wise just feels a lot better.
Well, but it's going to be him, and Julio didn't practice today, so if it's him and not Julio, that changes things too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So we do have a start-sit question in this one.
God,
and it's actually probably one of the more interesting start-sits because it's two players at the same position from the same team. So Joe, and to quote Joe exactly, Joe said, "At what point do I start to look at Kenneth Gainwell over Miles Sanders?" And I think it's a great question. For me, Miles Sanders is getting volume, but Kenneth Gainwell is getting quality of touches, right? He's getting pass catching. He's getting, they're using him at the goal line, not as a goal line back, but as a goal line pass catcher. In a game that they're projected to lose, coming in as the underdog against the Panthers, who have been playing really well, I'm probably playing Gainwell in this game. I don't know about you guys. Jeff, Nick, I'll throw it to you first.
That's so tough. I mean, over under. Do we think this is going to be a high scoring game? Do you think they're going to be down early? We got to think about the game script. I think Sanders only 7 attempts. I mean, last 2 weeks playing Dallas and Kansas City, so that's tough game script wise. I think it's going to get back to the more consistent volume of 13, 15 the first 2 weeks. It sucks, but I think I'm going Miles Sanders here. Just thinking about game script. I don't think that's going to be a blowout runaway with Carolina. So I don't know.
Jeff,
I don't want to get too cute.
I don't even really want to answer this question, to be honest, because it's that close for me. I think my heart wants to say Gainwell, but I think my brain is leaning more towards Sanders. So it is tough. I would say I would watch this really close, but I think this week I would still roll with Sanders. And if it's a 50-50 split or even close to it, I think then going forward, you almost have to start really, really playing Gainwell over Sanders. So it's tough. I don't know who's getting those goal line carries there. Do you guys know?
It's been pretty split between them from what I've seen, right? I haven't seen everything. But like I said, I've seen them use Sanders in some gadgety plays near the goal line, where he's getting, he's got 2 rushing touchdowns on the year. Gainwell does. I'm seeing right here. So,
yeah,
Sanders with
0? Sanders 0 touchdowns on the year.
Yeah,
I think it's just game script wise.
Yeah. I think if I was Joe, I'd roll Sanders one more week, and if they're 50-50, I think I'd make that switch going forward. But that's tough. That's a really, really hard start sit question.
For sure. All right, let's move on to our next one here. So we got the Aaron Rodgers football team at 3-1 taking on Grizzly Adams at 3-1. A 1-point favorite that is the tightest line of our week here. Pretty much a toss-up. I know you guys were talking about this earlier. Did you guys come to a consensus?
Yep, we did. So. We did.
Hot diggity dog! It's the game of the week.
Diggity dog. Hot diggity dog.
So this is our game of the week. 2 3-1 teams. One leading its division, one tied for the lead in their division. It's going to be a battle. Hey, I'm looking at the screen right now and it's got it 117. It's got it as a total toss up. I'm going to keep the line as the football team -1 because that's what I got in the doc. But Nick, your turn first. What do you got?
I got the champs, baby, coming off a good week after bitching about his team. That's all I needed to do to get him kicking back into gear. Debo should have a decent game. I'm still on the fence about that Arizona defense. They show me spurts of being really good. I mean, against the Rams last week, they looked really good. I don't know about it, but I think Debo will continue to go off here. Kelsey has to do better than last week, right? 4 points. That doesn't happen again. Renfro against Chicago, I like it. Wide receiver 1, we've talked about it time and time again. Barkley against Dallas, we'll see about game script. But I like the champs here.
Jeff, I'm going to toss to you next. What do you got?
I am with Nick on this one. I'm going with the champs, and it's really hard because I like Tony's team, but we touched on it, I think, in the recap. Playing 2 Dolphin wide receivers is kind of the decision point for me. I like Cooley's guys that he's got in there, and I think Kelsey against a high scoring Buffalo team is gonna go just crazy. So, I think Kelsey is gonna go off, but I think Mark Andrews for some reason is gonna be our highest scoring tight end that we see here in the week. But I just think Cooley gets enough out of his players. And Mike, if you want to drop the hit right here, I'll tell you why.
Jeff's keep on cooking.
Who wants some man meat?
I do. I want some man meat.
Drop the hit. Don't hit the drop.
Yeah, drop the hit.
Drop the hit, baby.
So part of this pick is because I think Barkley is going to just keep on cooking. He looked good last week. I think he's fully back and healthy. And when he's healthy, he's scary out there. And I know he's got an injury tag on him right now, but I think this Dallas score is going to be pretty high. And Barkley out there is, I'm thinking, going to score more than 20 points. And for that, I'm rolling with the champ.
Yeah, I'm calling about 51% confidence right now. I know that it's a toss-up of a line. Usually that makes my life easier because usually I have some sort of inkling one way or another where I'm confident. This week I don't really have a ton of confidence in this. Some of the matchups I think are in Tony's favor, but you talked about the Dolphin receivers, being a rough start. So Chris Carson, I don't love his matchup against the Rams. He's banged up right now, coming on a Thursday night. That if he's out, that's kind of really what's driving my decision here. If he's limited or out, I don't think Tony's got a whole lot of chance other than just some eruptions from guys. So I'm rolling Cooley in this one also.
Are you taking Kelsey as your tight end, Mike? I kind of forgot about that.
No, you can have him.
It kind of feels lame, but yeah, I'll take Kelsey.
All right, moving on to our next matchup. We got the Archduke Fish at 1-3 taking on Ball is Life at 1-3. The Dukes are a 19-point favorite in this one. That's a scary line for me because you really don't feel good about yourself if you fail on that. I think John has some good matchups this week, but I'm going to roll with myself. I'm taking the Dukes, and I'm calling the George Kittle re-breakout game. So he's broken out so many times in the past, but this week's been a little down. I'm taking him as my highest scoring tight end. It's just going to be all me. I'm just going to have faith in myself, and
I like it.
Nothing wrong with that.
I like this new Mike.
Yeah. I had to be that last week, you son of a bitch.
Jeff, I'll toss it to you. Well, actually, I picked myself to cover. Yeah, no, I picked myself. Yeah, okay. Jeff, what do you got in this one?
I'm going to go opposite of you, Mike. I like John this week, mostly because 19 points is a lot. And, I like Harris in this. I like Henderson. I think Mike Williams bounces back. You know, Monroe talked about Metcalf a little bit on the interview there. I think he has a decent game against the Rams. You know, I see that matchup going to be a pretty high scoring game, and I think all those wide receivers out there are going to produce in some aspects. So with John rolling with both of them, and you like to see what you've seen out of Clyde these last couple weeks, and you know, I hit on it earlier, that Buffalo matchup could be pretty high scoring. So there's just enough there. I don't think John wins this game. I think you win it, Mike, but I think he keeps it closer than 19 points.
So I got to be honest. I had John written down in my sheet because I do think it's going to be a little closer than that. But I had already said it out loud that I was taking myself in the heat of it, so I'm just going to stick with it. I got heat.
You have to.
Nick, what about you?
Yeah, can't go back.
Yeah, I also have John. 19's too big for me. I don't know how great of a game Mike Williams is going to have against Cleveland.
You're off the bandwagon after 1 week.
No, I think he's good still, but Cleveland's defense was decent, really good last week. So I don't know if it's going to come back to mid-20s, but he'll probably score a touchdown. Henry's going to absolutely eat in this game. I think it's going to be tasty. But I still think Ball is life keeps it close. I like his team enough. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is surprising me this year. I mean, I figured it'd be a little bit better than last year, but pleasantly surprised having him in a couple other leagues. So I like your team, John.
All right, moving on to our last matchup, we got Lick McCaff and Medak at 2-2, taking on the Taint Ticklers at 1-3. Lick McCaff is the 2-point favorite in this one. Nick, I'll give you your game first. What do you got?
You know I'm going to take me. I have to. No one else is necessary. I need to win this game, or 1-4 looks scary. There's not really a choice here. Kamara has to get one of those touchdowns this week.
Yeah. So we didn't talk about it in our game, in mine and John's, but 1-4 looks very scary, and one of us two teams is going to be that. Yeah, you got to hope you avoid this, Nick. Jeff, what about you in this one?
I don't know. I don't think 1-4 looks too scary or too bad. Kind of hoping for it. No, I got Nick covering this. I think he gets that win, and I think you see a decent turnaround from Robinson and Allen. We've been dogging on those two guys a lot here recently, and I think they come through this week for them, and mostly just because I look over at Jordan's side of the ball. I like that Fournette play more this week than I did last week, and
Crowder in there.
Yeah. You know, he swapped Crowder in there against the Falcons. The Falcons' defense is just bad, so everyone's scoring on those guys. So it's just a good play for him to slide in that flex. But I think you got enough in here, Nick, and the line is too close. So I'm rolling with the Taint Ticklers.
Yeah, and I'm going to go opposite you guys. I'm going to take Jordan this one.
Look off, dude.
I know you're just saying that to make me feel bad.
Yeah.
You know, these lines are assuming that McCaffrey doesn't play. I know he's got the opportunity to play, so that factors in a little bit. I got to take that into account. You know, I think, you know, we talk about Allen Robinson and Keenan Allen bouncing back. Well, they're still projected for 11 and 12 points. Like, right? I mean, they could have a decent game and still be at that point. So, you know, I think there's room to disappoint. It's not necessarily easy for them to outpace that. So I'm going with Jordan here. I can't say I feel super confident about it. You know, Robert Tunyon's been bad. Jamison Crowder, I feel less sure about him this week than I would have last week because now Elijah Moore is back in the mix there.
Yeah.
He was out last week with a concussion, so those are slot snaps coming away from him. So, you know, there is factors going against him, but you know, Nick, your team's just not been performing, and until I see it, I really just have a tough time picking you. So,
whatever, dude.
With all that, let's hop into this.
Ask me the questions, Bridgekeeper. I'm not afraid.
This here's Mike's. Will it happen?
All right, Michael. Will all three hosts miss the playoffs?
Ooh.
It will not happen.
That was Mike's.
Ooh.
Will it happen?
You're saying there's a chance.
right,
Not for you.
No, not you.
Or
I'll
me,
give you a hint,
I
Nick.
guess.
It's not you either.
That's what I said that. Okay, freak off, dude.
All right, hopping into our last segment here.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
Shut up, baby. I know it. Absolute guarantee.
All right, Jeff, lead us off.
Yeah, so we touched on a little bit earlier in the show. I think both of you guys said you liked that matchup with Kyle Pitts and kind of his breakout. So my absolute guarantee is Kyle Pitts will get his first touchdown of the year this
Bro,
week.
are you kidding me?
Shut up, baby. I know it.
Shut up.
Was it
really?
Something else.
Got his ass.
Double down with me, Mike.
I should never have given you the first crack. All right, Nick, what do you got while I scramble?
Awkward.
Are you kidding me?
Nick, what do you got while I scramble?
Just say
So
two
my
touchdown, Mike.
Seriously. So my absolute guarantee is that Stafford's going to be the highest scoring quarterback this week.
Ooh.
Wow.
Shut up, baby. I know it.
That's gonna be that's got to be up there on the boldness ranking.
I know. I like it.
All right. Well, my absolute guarantee, because it's the game that I happen to pull up, I think that Kyle Stankowski is going to make the wrong decision at quarterback this week. One of his bench quarterbacks is going to outscore who he's got at the start. Right now, that's Ryan Tannehill. So I'm saying that between Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, and Jacoby Brissett, he's making the wrong call. And if he switches, he's still making the wrong call because I'm tilted.
Because it's an absolute
Shut up,
guarantee.
baby. I know it.
Because I know it.
Baby.
All right, boys. Well, good luck to everyone out there. Unless you're playing one of us, we'll see you.
Webster's Dictionary defines radish as a swollen, pungent-tasting edible root, high in potassium, which can help lower blood pressure. Or more importantly, three guys spitting nonsense and talking about fantasy football. Add salt and pepper and chomp into another episode next time. See y'all later.